How many of you remember Mr. Sowore? He ran for the presidential election in 2019 and Nigerians were all crazy about him, but unfortunately he did not win. Today we'll be talking about the election, why he didn't win, and if he still has the motivation for the 2027 election. A lot of people were worried. They said you are just too ambitious, that why would you be aiming for the presidential position, that you could have started as a contestant for maybe your local government.
Well, those people who I believe might suffer from inferiority complex and not my own fault. There are several things I do today, even without being president, that the president cannot do for you. But look at my life. You know, my children grew up without me. I left my daughter in the US when she was about 12 years old. When I went back, 5 years later, she was 16. She's now 18 years old. Everything that you need a politician to promise you in 4 years, I do it every day. My political participation or involvement is not calendarized. You know, I built up people like Blessing, CEO.
Oh, really? You were involved in her case?
Of course, I had never met her before. I built up people like Jaruma, and nobody thought that they could be oppressed because of the number of followers
they had.
But oppression doesn't recognize that.
I mean, look at the case of VDM, Seeking. I mean, like, why do you choose to always leave your comfort zone, your family, every success you've worked so hard to build, just to stick out your neck for people that may not even care so much about you? Why do you keep doing this all the time? So, sir, thank you so much for coming around.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, I'm curious to know, what were some of those things that you experienced during the election that you can say led to you not winning?
I experienced that there was no election.
There was no election.
Yes.
Why do you say so?
Because elections have parameters, they have standards, and they have all kinds of processes that involves the process of going into election, the process of voting itself, counting, tabulating, and announcement of election results, and announcing a winner. All these things were, all these conditions were not met. So I then concluded that we no longer have elections, but we have selection.
A lot of people were worried. They said you are just too ambitious, that why would you be aiming for the presidential position, that you could have started as a contestant for maybe your local government.
Well, those people who I believe might suffer from inferiority complex and not my own fault. I have been around Nigeria, taking on some of the most important and most powerful and most risky tasks. And in those days, nobody called me and said, you are too young to fight for democracy. You are too young to confront the military. You are too young to take on this task of liberating our country. Nobody said that when I was in my 20s. So to now turn around when I'm 54, exposed, educated, shown that I have character, I've shown the experience in my own field of endeavor, that I should then lower my standard for those without standards. That is why I said, it's a complex. But you can't blame them. It is what has been done to the people of this country over time. They have reduced everybody to nothing and made a lot of people stand up for nothing and also falling for everything. Except, of course, the standards have made great countries emerge from poverty to prosperity.
Now, something I want to say is, Nigerians were so crazy about you in 2019. But in 2023, things were just different. Maybe because Peter Obi came into the picture. What would you say changed things? Because the motivation, the hype was not the same way anymore.
So by 2019, we came out with a bunch of young people. And Nigerians have never seen young Nigerians run for the presidency of the country. So many of them have never also had young people with ideas or young people who are ambivalent about what needs to be done. They used to be used to old people who don't campaign, who don't talk, who just spray money, and then they hear that they have won elections. So that was where the motivation and the excitement came from. And by 2023, they had realized that with their trajectory, with the power and the force that I came out in 2019, something would happen if they don't do something. So they started way before 2019 to start tracking us. And by 2018, let me just take one step back. We had formed a political party known as the African National Congress and ran for election less than 8 months after it was formed. Ran for election, we went around this country, like you said, a lot of young people were excited. By 2019, as soon as the election was over, they had hijacked the party from us.
Who?
The government, INEC, and they always find people within political parties. This time it was our secretary. As soon as we're done with the election and I was returning to the US to visit my family, I heard while still on the plane that I had been kicked out of the party that we established.
Wow.
And they got a federal high court judge to give an order that we are no longer part of the party. So after I came back, I was arrested August 2019, detained for 5 months and charged with treason. That scared a lot of people. In fact, a lot of people did not know that I would survive it. And when I got out of prison, in detention from the DSS, I was restricted to Abuja for 3 years. Don't forget, it was also that period that COVID came. So we did not recover our party back until about 6 days to the closure of the nomination for presidential candidates in 2022. But I was still, in fact, at the time we got the party back, I was still under restriction. And by the time I got over the restriction and registered to be part of the presidential candidates, we had less than 6 months ago. Less than 3 months, actually, to be honest with you. And here I was, still facing trial for treason and cybercrime. I was accused of insulting Buhari. I was accused of treasoning, and then they downgraded it to treasonable felony. They accused me of money laundering my own money. They claimed that I sent money from my US account to Nigeria account, and that was money laundering. So when they couldn't prove this, they removed all that, cybercrime, removed money laundering, and then they kept treasonable felony going. So I, in 2023, was running for office with my hands tied behind my back.
Wow.
Yes.
I can see now.
So most people didn't know this. But then they had also realized that after NSAS and the kind of empowerment it gave the young people that participated, they are going to go political. So while we were struggling with all these legal issues, physical restraints, because I was also rearrested in 2021 January. My nose was broken. One policewoman shot at me with a riot gun, that gun they use for shooting tear gas. It's called federal riot gun, in my thigh. So every time people heard from me, it was like maybe they just killed Sowore or they're about to kill him. It was also the period that my brother was assassinated on his way from school. He was a pharmacy student coming from Egbenedon University back to Benin on a weekend. They killed him. So you can imagine with all these tribulations, why many people didn't think that I was even running in the first place. But then I was talking about the trajectory where they went after NSAS. It was to go and choose a candidate that they know might appeal to the younger people, because the younger persons who participated in that revolt also want political change. And that's how they zeroed in on the person you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. But like I said, most people out there didn't know about this. That we had no money, we had no freedom, we had no room to wriggle around to even participate in that election. We participated
So you were
regardless.
crippled by the government.
The government, crippled themselves, not me. Because even after doing all that, they still managed not to hold an election. So what they did is that they held a Shambolic election, which I participated and I won against, that these guys weren't planning an election. And then they allocated votes and announced the selected winner, who unfortunately now is the president of this republic.
So with all this experience,
Yes.
are you planning to run for election 2027?
I don't want to sound like what politicians will say, which is never give a direct answer to questions about running for office. But my position is that I am first and foremost an activist, and my political participation or involvement is not calendarized. It is not tied to election cycles. So when you say running, I'm always running. You just mentioned when we started out here that you heard about me yesterday at the Federal High Court.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is running from oppression and running with resistance. So I do not wait for election cycles to fight for what I believe in, to fight for good schools, to fight for, fair, just, and equitable society, to fight against police brutality. Everything that you need a politician to promise you in 4 years, I do it every day, every hour. So that is the reason why I am not going to give you a question that is as direct as you might want. But I have made it very clear that there is nobody more qualified than us in this country, having shown character, vision, mission, and a very sound history of making the right judgment, that I would then disqualify myself from running for office, especially the presidency. But this must happen having met certain conditions. And one of the conditions is that we cannot go into this next election with the Shambolic INEC in place and expect victory for the people, or not allowing the country to have the democratic space to conduct free, fair, and credible elections.
So what do you think should be done differently this time around?
We have to dismantle the current system. This might sound extreme for those of the people who might be hearing me for the first time, but I am revolutionary in thought, and I do not deceive myself that if we go into 2027 with the same characters at INEC, the same people who are at the Supreme Court. By the way, 11 of them were appointed by Tinubu since he came into office. And you only need 7 Supreme Court justices to decide on the election. He has 11 in the bag.
Wow.
Yes. Go to all the federal commissioners of INEC. They are mostly APC card-carrying members. An electoral body is supposed to be neutral and credible for them to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. That has been destroyed. And if you doubt me, you can imagine what they have done recently with off-season elections in Benin, Edo State, in Akure, Ondo State, where I come from. They no longer pretend about these elections anymore. You can tell when the elections are approaching that this is the person who is going to win because they've rigged the system against the voters. And where they might have a little bit of difficulty in convincing people or coercing them to participate in this fraud, they give money. They go and bribe voters.
Yeah.
And, that is what they refer to as stomach infrastructure, where the bridges that are supposed to be constructed on the highways are constructed in your stomach. And then you are hungry a few weeks later. And you start looking for the activist to come and save you.
To come and fight for you.
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Sowore, there's something I'm curious about. I've actively followed your videos, and the one that really gets me fascinated is the ones where you are challenging the police authority. We saw you recently in a stadium. You went to participate in a sports event.
Yes.
And apparently you were told that you were sitting in the position of the place where the governor was supposed to sit.
Yes.
We also saw a video of you in Lagos. You were in a taxi and the police said you should stop for a stop and search, and you challenged them.
Yes.
We also saw you recently at Federal High Court, and you also challenged these people. You've been harassed and arrested, yet somehow you are still sure-footed in activism. What is that thing that keeps you going? A lot of people consider you as a very stubborn person. Do you think you are?
Well, it is not about labels. It is about objecting to oppression. In that case, I refer to myself as a very conscious and conscientious objector. I would never do what is wrong, even if you put a gun to my head. And I do not accept oppression, even when the oppressor is very, very powerful. And to a lot of people seem insurmountable. The recent events you counted are just a few in several activities I've been involved in. We, as young people in the university, as student activists, drove out the military out of power in this country. We did it. I'm not the only one, but we did it in collaboration with other activists in town. People like Chief Ganifa, Femi Falana, Beko Ransom Kuti. I am a person who believes in Fela Nicola Kuti and used to hang out at the shrine. And even Shehu Sonny, Babindele Aturu, several of the middle-aged young people at that time, we formed a vanguard to drive the military out of power. So we have always been in confrontation with these authorities wherever we found them. We fought school authorities. The vice chancellors in my university, in collaboration with the military, drove me out of school twice. I was expelled from the University of Lagos twice. I ended up spending 6 years instead of my 4 years program. So I have, over these years, spanning 32 or more years, always resisted oppression and corruption. And when I even traveled abroad, I would go to events where these Nigerian leaders would come to town and disrupt the event.
I've seen those videos.
So they used to come to the US on Independence Day. They will abandon Independence Day in Nigeria and come to New York to come and do Independence Day. And they will bring money and waste. They will have like tons of people. We will go there and disrupt it until they stop coming. When they will have town hall meetings, we'll walk into the place and we hold it and resolve it in our own very little justiciable way. So I not only fight for justice, I bring justice to oppressors. And I have a lot of scars to show for it. But I know the question you asked wasn't directly answered, which is what is the motivation? I just hate oppression. I am, totally opposed to oppression, diametrically opposed to it. I think, there's something in my DNA that just, when I see an oppressive person, first I detect them. I have that detector. And secondly, I resist them. And then damn the consequences. And the consequences, of course, you've seen are all over my life history, my physical body. I have broken nose. I have been beaten. I've been tortured. I've been shot at in this same country. So, but nobody deserves to live through such harrowing experience. In a country where you are born and bred and are supposed to live at peace in a just and prosperous society. And my experience started since I was 10 years old when policemen came and invaded our village in Ondo State, which is the side of Ondo State that's Niger Delta region. So, and I've told this story several times. While we were going through that experience that night, the eve of Christmas of 1980, and my dad was hiding in the ceiling made of mat and sweating through it, afraid that the police might come get him. I made a promise to myself that if I survive tonight and I grow up, I will fight against the system that came to humiliate my family.
Wow, so that was where it all started.
That's where I made that solemn promise to myself. But of course, you can make a great promise to yourself. You don't make them happen until you start to implement them. And then when I got to secondary school, yes, I would fight my principals and teachers, if they did something wrong. When I got to the university, the opportunity came because the enemies were very, 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 very strong and clear to us. That was the Nigerian military. And one of them launched a book 3 days ago, Ibrahim Babangida.
Yeah.
We drove him out of power in 1993, August of 1993.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Mr. Sowore, now I want to ask something similar to what I already asked. Your aim is to be the president of this country. Do you think you ever attain that height? With the way things are going, with the systems already in place, do you think at any point you'll be in the reality of that dream?
It is my desire that one day I will be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. to bring about all the great things I know are possible in our time and era. But I am not so desperate that I must become president that I don't do anything other than thinking of becoming president. There are several things I do today, even without being president, that the president cannot do for you.
Can you tell us about it?
Well, fighting against all these institutions that engage in corruption, fighting against the president, fighting against police brutality, ensuring that there's justice done for our people, from students to including policemen. They are not the things presidents are willing to do.
That's very true.
Yeah. I'll give you an example, which is recent. I was arrested for calling the IG illegal IG.
Yes,
and I spent 4 days in detention. By the time I came out, I repeated it, and that there are people in the police who ought to have retired who refuse to retire. They've been there since 2017, including the current IGP. In the last 2 weeks, 500 of those men have been removed from the Nigeria police force.
Wow.
The president couldn't do it because he was afraid to do it. But because I stood up and took the risk, it was done. The policemen themselves had been in a slavish pension situation where an ASP after retirement gets 2 million naira. But the person he is protecting, senators, House of Rep members, and their girlfriends, concubines, and all that, get paid 30 million naira per month.
Wow.
Yes. Now, in 2 weeks, they are working on reforming the pension system. It takes one person of determination, courage, and integrity to do that. That is why you hear about the US today as being some kind of bastion for human rights and equality. The whites who were racist did not want to allow black people to have freedom. But one woman sat in front of a bus one day. They asked her to go to the back, thinking that she sat there accidentally and mistakenly. She said no. Her name is Rosa Parks. And that was how the tables turned. I'm saying this just not to ascribe myself as the only source of these reforms, because you're saying what did the president do that what did I do that the president could have done? Several. And there are a lot of others who can do this, including yourself. In fact, one of the most painful things I go through internally, the pain I internalize, is that not enough young people have had the courage to stand firm and to also upgrade their beliefs and their self-esteem, to believe that they can be anything and anybody, even their children of nobody in this society. That's part of what I grapple with. So when people ask me the question, like, why don't you go and become counselor? I ask them, if that is your destiny, you can go and become counselor. That's your problem. But you cannot infect me with your inferiority complex, and you can then not impose it on me, because every child, even of the poorest parents, are trained to have the confidence to become better than their parents.
True.
Yes. And if you know that you can be better than the people who are destroying your country, fire up yourself. There should be 1 million people who feel the same way I feel. And this country would not be this shambolic space that you have today. And I hope they are inspired, beyond just looking at me and saying, oh, will you run for office again? No, that's not the question. The question is this the country you like to grow up in? That's the question. And if it is not, let's all choose or become the president of a country we so very much desire. The best amongst the best in the world. Yes. And Nigeria could get there. But to change the game, you must change the players.
Yeah, for someone to do this, you are saying a lot of young people are disengaged. Are you talking about activism or you are talking about politics?
No, you see, activism is not different from politics.
Oh, you think
in fact,
so?
You cannot be very good in politics if you are inactive. But I understand what people call activism is the aspect that they see in which we challenge power, we speak truth to power, you know. So that is what is called political activism. And that's what I want them to become political activists. Not politicians as we know them, the thieves in our society whose only claim to fame is how many big clothes they can wear and how much they can steal from the public treasury. That is not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for young people who have the consciousness, political consciousness, to take power. Because that's been a mistake that a lot of people make. They think that if you're an activist, you should have nothing to do with being in power. But when they put useless people in power, they run to the activists to come bail them out of the situation. No, we can all become the activists that makes the country better. They did it in South Africa. You see, a lot of our young people are not disconnected. It is part of the question I answered earlier about what they think is their capacity and capability and how they have underutilized it. A lot of Nigerians, young people, prefer to be special assistants, for politicians who have no sense. That's how they've groomed themselves. They prefer to be influencers for politicians who are doing nothing but need liars to say that they are doing something. And then they'll give them some money on Twitter to say they are the best, and they help them attack people who are, who are standing up to them. That is what most young people have conditioned themselves to become. And that is why you see in fighting against the state, you also have to somehow fight against this level of ignorance or have knowledge that is driving. Because you look at it, some of them are really, really smart. But they are not smart enough to know that being a special assistant to an idiot is not your future.
It's not where they are meant to be.
Or a special advisor to somebody who doesn't take advice.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So I've seen, I don't know, there's something I admire so much about you. Is when something bad happens to a young person in Nigeria, you always find a way to stand up for that person. I mean, look at the case of VDM, Seeking. I mean, like, why do you choose to always leave your comfort zone, your family, every success you've worked so hard to build, just to stick out your neck for people that may not even care so much about you? Why do you keep doing this all the time?
Yes.
Because there's nobody that's ever contested for the presidential position that you see living his life the way Mr. Sowore does.
So this is something that's about, again, consciousness. When you are conscious enough to understand how oppression works, the first thing that should strike you is that the person has been struck with injustice, and not if the person likes you or not, or if he's young or old. It doesn't matter. What you're looking at is this person has been struck down with or by injustice or oppression, and they need a helping hand, and you lend that helping hand immediately, because I understand what it means to be locked up unjustly. Because I've been locked up, I think, some almost 20 times, and all the time I was locked up, I did nothing wrong. The last time I was locked up was 2019 for a prolonged period. I've been locked up after that until the last 3 weeks. Even in 2019, after spending 5 years in Nigeria, after 3 years of restriction to Abuja, after losing my brother, they came to court one day and said, "Oh, sorry, we can't continue this case anymore. Sowore did not commit any crime." They filed what they call a nolle. Nolle prosecute, which is, I think, a Latin word for we no longer want to continue the prosecution, or we have nullified this prosecution. And that was the end. Society moved on. But look at my life. My children grew up without me. I left my daughter in the US when she was about 12 years old. When I went back 5 years later, she was 16. She's now 18 years old. She missed out on the most important part of those teenage years when she needed her father. But here you go again. I have then also automatically become the father of all oppressed kids in the country, both the ones that are languishing or might languish in detention, and those who are languishing in poverty. And it is how it should be. I don't need anybody to praise me for that. I don't even ask the telephone number of some of the people I support, I've helped. You know, I don't know how to reach them, and I don't ask them for any favors after. In fact, I have had people that I released from detention. 2 days later, they are criticizing me on social media.
Are you serious?
Yes. So, and I'm not going to reach you and say, no, you shouldn't have done that. There's been several of them like that who I worked for to make sure that they get out of detention because we've been oppressed. Then 2 weeks later, they're there like insulting me. And I don't feel bad about it. Because I didn't build them out so that they become my slave. I built them out so that they can have the freedom to do what I do, which is the freedom to be themselves. And being themselves might sometimes be being against what I represent. So I don't ride roughshod on people. Oh, I bailed you out, and then start. No, I don't even know how many people I bailed out. I bailed out people like Blessing, CEO.
Oh, really? You were involved in her case?
Of course, I had never met her before.
Wow.
Yes. So but these are like social media people who are popular that I heard they were being oppressed. And nobody thought that they could be oppressed because of the number of followers they had. But oppression doesn't recognize that. I built up people like Jaruma.
Oh, you were there for Jaruma?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I built out Jaruma one time. And after that, we became friends. For a short period of time. We're still friends. But next thing, she's supporting another candidate in the election. She's entitled to. You get my point.
But this is say that a lot of Nigerians do not even value what you do for them.
You see, anybody who's doing what we do is doing what they call tankless job.
Tankless job?
Yes. If you are expecting people to thank you for this, you better don't do it. Because you'll be disappointed and depressed very quickly. It's a tankless job. You can't do this and expect people, because a lot of people can't even understand the gamut of what you're doing for them. They just saw themselves in detention and they're out. That's because you shouted. And maybe in the course of trying to do their own calculation of who helped, somebody might even have lied to them that Sowore never helped you. Some people come and say, I'm the one who helped you. I went to see the police. It's not true. So, but like I said, I don't go back trying to look at, my Rolodex of oppressed people that I build out, because there are several other persons that you have built out. By bailing out those popular ones, police will not go near them again. There are policemen that got into trouble because we bailed out people. There's a guy called Ijele. He's still in detention, but we'll get him out because he insulted a pastor, one Ebuka Obi. See, we fought so hard for him, even though he's in. But the policeman they used has been fired from the Nigerian police force.
Wow.
So a lot happens whenever we intervene in these matters, but I also must appreciate that each time I say we are opposed to this, there are a lot of conscientious people too who come and retweet it. But we need more of that, because if we have a united voice, oppression will be whittled down in the country. And the oppressors themselves are more afraid of us, than we know or than we think. I know a lot of them in person, they're cowards. Nobody, like, for instance, thought that I would survive Buhari's regime. But where's Buhari today? Nowhere. And I've survived 7 Nigerian presidents or more, starting from Babangida. Where's Babangida today? Selling books that nobody wants to read. So, yes.
Oh, Mr. Sowore, thank you so much. Now, I would like you to comment about the present economic situation in Nigeria. Let's look at fuel subsidy. Do you think President Tinubu's move was a very good one concerning subsidy?
If it was a good one, what he promised the day he removed it would have been happening. And what did it say will happen? That the money made from fuel subsidy will be poured into programs and policies that will bring about economic development, that will improve the standard of living, that will help pay for education and pay for several things. What did you get since they removed fuel subsidy? Nothing. You've gotten the price of fuel go up. The value of the naira went from 400 naira to a dollar to now 1,500 naira to a dollar.
At some points, even 1,800.
As a matter of fact, what they're doing now, which most people don't know, is that they are using whatever they made from removal of fuel subsidy to subsidize the naira, so that the naira can remain at 1,500.
Wow.
Yes, they are now subsidizing the naira. In addition to subsidizing the existing corruption, the only people who are benefiting from the removal of fuel subsidy are the governors, because they get more more monthly allocations. And whenever they get the allocation, they go to the BDCs, borrow the change it into dollars, and then wait for the naira to depreciate, and then they make money. Because the easiest way to make money, don't let anybody lie to you, there's no economic policy in Nigeria. The people who make the most amount of money are people who are flipping dollar and naira. Quote me any day, anywhere. It's the easiest way to make money. So if you have access to Forex, I'm not talking about the Forex app, so I'm talking about real Forex.
Real Forex.
Just be selling and buying, and you are good to go. That is why there's no incentive for the rich to add value to factories. Because if you want to build a factory to be making toothpicks, you have to import the machines. By the time it gets there, you cannot even make 10 million naira a year. But you can make 10 million naira a day if you have the right connection at the central bank. All they just need to tell you is, okay, we are allocating $1 million to you today through this BDC. Go and pick up your profits. Yes.
Wow, so these things happen.
They do. And that's what most of the banks are doing. They call it round tripping. Because the Central Bank of Nigeria is no longer involved in monetary policy. In fact, the Central Bank of Nigeria is now doing retail banking. They are fixing ATM charges, interest. Well, interest rates should be fixed by them, but they are fixing interest rates in the wrong way. You cannot want to develop any society and have high interest rates. Any serious society in the world will have very low interest rates.
Very true.
The reason why interest rates are increased in the 1980s in the US, it was an economic system developed by Paul Volcker, who was the Treasury Secretary to former President Jimmy Carter, who just recently died. It is that to encourage people to save money. So you increase the interest so that you take, instead of spending your money, you take it to the bank. But if you have nothing to save, interest rate doesn't help you. So if you are living from hand to mouth, which is what the economic system Tinubu brought has turned Nigerians into, if people who were eating in the house before are now eating from the dustbin, so interest rate doesn't mean anything to them. People are borrowing to eat, or they are relying on their families abroad to send money to them. That's what is keeping the place going. There's no economic policy in place. Don't let them lie to you. Okay, you remove fuel subsidy. What is the gain? Nothing. You've added tariffs. You have added banditry to electricity. You have now band A and co, which I call banditry in electricity. What has it done? It has only pauperized people. So you've created more poor people than you met in the country.
But I think there have been steady lights lately compared to way back, compared to even Buhari's regime.
I thought what I'm hearing in the background is a generator.
No, I think it's a dog. Dogs.
No.
Okay,
the dogs are barking at the generator.
Okay, yeah, true.
Yes, so
there's a generator
so
running.
If lights improved, I don't think there's a gen.
There should be a gen running. Well, at least better than the way it used to be.
I'm just saying this. It might sound a little bit symbolic, but don't let them lie to you, because the way to measure improvement in electricity is to look at what do the country need in terms of consumption of electricity. We need at least 60 gigawatts of electricity. And you have 5 in Nigeria.
Just 5.
How can you have? They are constantly at 5. And that 5 is only there when there's rainy season, because hydro is one of the biggest sources of electrical supply in Nigeria. But beyond that, the infrastructure for transmission is gone. So distribution is gone. This is the reason why I say you need people with mission and vision, because if I was president of this country, I would have completely abandoned hydro almost, because now you have very sustainable means of generating electricity. Wind is there, sun, which is solar, is there. We should have solar farms like they have in Tunisia now. One of the countries in North Africa, I think either Tunisia or Algeria, is selling electricity to France because they built like huge solar farms. So those are sustainable electrical systems. But here, we're just lying to ourselves. They'll tell you that electricity has improved. But you go to one of the biggest university teaching hospitals in Ibadan, they haven't had electricity for 100 days. That's even where the Minister of Power is from. You know, the people I call Minister of Power to steal. That's where they're from. So don't let anybody lie to you that electricity has improved. If electricity has improved, the hotel behind us will not be, the dogs will not be barking at the generator.
Nigerian youths, what exactly is going on with this fuel subsidy? Have we finally come to accept that we'll be buying fuel for 1,000 naira per litre? Mr. Sowore, if you were president, would you bring back fuel subsidy?
What needed to be done is not fuel subsidy removal, because there's nowhere in the world that they don't subsidize their system. It is to fix your refineries. You have 4 of them. And if you fix them, even if you are saving 100 naira per litre, it will be better than the situation that we are in today. You would also have employed people who will be working in those places. You have a lot of economic activities going around them. And I have often said that even the idea of gasoline, petrol, is something we should be transitioning away from. But if you can help one man to build a refinery, Dangote, you should be able to repair your own. 4 of them. Nigeria invested, according to Dangote himself, over $1.7 billion in his own private refinery. They bought shares there. So what happened to our own refineries? We have one in Kaduna, we have one in Port Harcourt, there's one in Warri, and I think maybe there's like 2 somewhere in Warri, So, but we have 4 refineries in this country that are not functioning. And forget about the recent lie they told that they've revived them. Nigeria consumes about 42 million gallons of petrol, just gasoline, every day. All the refineries together working in Nigeria said, well, maybe they're able to produce 10 million. Even in Dangote refinery that is shouting, they can't meet the local consumption demands. So I'm not going to remove fuel subsidy, because I know that it will destroy the Nigerian economy, and that's what it did. And by the way, I was the only candidate who said I would not remove fuel subsidy in 2019 and 2022.
So if you had the opportunity to be president of Nigeria, you'll bring back fuel subsidy. That's what you're trying to say.
Of course. How would I subsidize poor people? I can't be subsidizing the people who have already made it and then give the poor people short end of the stick. But this is what I will not do. I will not allow people to be stealing the subsidy, which is the reason why the subsidy is a burden on the Nigerian economy. It's stolen. They just allocate to themselves the subsidy. Somebody will get allocation to go and bring fuel to Nigeria. He will be paid the subsidy on top of it. He will not import the fuel. He will import water and turn the boat back. They will use a ship that has capsized 20 years ago. They'll be registering it at Tinkan Island or wherever it is, Atlas Cove, as bringing fuel. And they never brought fuel. That one I will make sure I do. And by the time we do that, you discover that the subsidy is nothing compared to what the people deserve. Because, you see, subsidies incentivize society. It helps in economic growth and development. Let me tell you a secret today. The bread you eat, what is it made of? Flour, wheat. Most of the flours that you use in bread in Nigeria comes from the US. It's not like it's compulsory that the US must sell a certain amount of their wheat to you. It's part of the arrangement with the World Trade Organization. Do you know the people that are most subsidized in the US? Farmers that are growing wheat. So if they can subsidize their farmers, why can't we subsidize our own people here?
True.
But when people want to lie to you, they will come on TV, or especially all these Facebook economists, and tell you that, oh, if you go to the US, there's no subsidy. If you go to Europe, there's no subsidy. Go and check how much is spent to subsidize electricity in Germany alone. This one is public information. So there's no society in the world where people are not subsidized. I've lived in the US for 25 years. They subsidize you in every sector, including when there's, flood. The government will come and bring insurance and give you. Even if you have personal problems at home, like your house burns down and the insurance company is still wasting time, government will come in and assist you. So don't let them lie to you when they say, oh, government has no business in business. Meanwhile, government is the biggest business of businessmen in this country. Because when they go and waste their money that they take from us, it is still the government that will set up AMCON to absorb their bad loans. Government pays for everything in this country. Government subsidizes airlines. They subsidize all these businessmen, oil companies. They subsidize all kinds of rich people. The subsidy that goes to the people, the little that goes to the people, is the one that they're after. Yes. Government subsidized Dangote refinery. That is the meaning of the investment in the refinery. That's subsidy.
Wow.
Yes. To the tune of 1.7 billion naira. But you have
billion naira or dollar?
Dollars, sorry. But you have not given $1.7 billion to students in higher institutions. Who are the people who will take this country to the best possible levels of economic development in the future if you train them well? But you can give to an individual. And then the individual can go and buy Babangida's book for 8 billion naira.
10 billion.
Yes. You buy a book, a useless book for 10 billion because Nigeria has been subsidizing you. You're not going to use our subsidy to go and buy a useless book for 10 billion naira. Those are the people who are subsidized. Maybe if we didn't subsidize them, Babangida won't have the temerity to be writing a book that nobody is going to read, but it's selling at the highest, it's bought for the highest amount of money ever that everybody ever bought a book for. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the depth of our problems. And when we say it, initially some people will just come at it because, I must be honest with you, Nigerians are conquered people. So it is difficult to keep up with the rate at which our people fall into the dish. Because as you are pulling them out, some of them will say, hand me another digger. They'll be digging themselves in. And that's why you have the situation. Sometimes that's why you get the almost predictable reaction of the masses in support of their oppressors. They support their oppressors more than they support their liberators in this country.
Wow.
Yes.
A lot is going on in this country, and to think that some of the things you are seeing right now, I'm just hearing about it for the first time, and I'm sure that will be the case for so many of our viewers. The truth is, a lot of young people are so disengaged from government activities. Now, Mr. Sowore, I'm curious to ask, if a young person like me wants to join politics, what is the procedure? What is the process? What would you advise? Or let's say I'm interested. Okay, I want to ask, is your party still active?
Yes.
AAC.
The AAC is
Okay.
one of the 18 political parties left in the country.
Okay, so let's
There
say
used to be 79 political parties in 2019.
Oh,
AAC is one of the 18 political parties left. And the only party that is ideologically grounded, that doesn't do what the rest of the parties do. And it is there. But to answer your question, first is to be convinced why you want to join politics. Because a lot of people who want to join politics have a problem. They want to become like the politicians. So they have always been dreaming to have many cars, steal, and flex, as you guys like to call it. And that's what drives them into joining politics. If that's your intention, you are not joining politics. You are joining an armed robbery gang. Just make up your mind at home. And ultimately, you can join our party. But if your intention is to do good, oh, you're going to make a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes you can lose everything in the process. And you should just have a full understanding that people who do good in this country are in short supply. And if you want to go and do good, you are going to face monumental difficulties in the course of doing it. If you're ready for that, then you're welcome. But if it is to go and share the national cake, you know where to join. Like I said, at that point, you are not joining politics, you are joining an armed robbery gang.
Armed robbery gang.
Yes.
So what's the process to join AAC? For those young people out there that are watching this video right now, I want to actively participate in politics. Maybe they want to join AAC, your political party. What's the process?
It's probably one of the few political parties you can join online. And we have a website, aacparty.org. aacparty.org, and you see there, if you want to become a member, you register. And boom, you get notification.
So you're automatically a member?
Yes.
Is that simple?
It's that simple, because they will assign you a number. And then over time, we will assign you to your ward, local government, and state, if you want to operate on those levels. But if you want to stay, maybe you don't live in your state, we'll connect you with the people in AAC who are around you. But you must understand that it's a fighting party, it's an activist party. So we don't wait for elections alone, we fight power. So in the cause of fighting for power.
Now let's make this clear for young people who are watching. So once you go to the website, you register, automatically you become a party member, through an ABC process. Now what is the next? How can they actively participate? Because registration is just one part.
Typically, when you join, you would have included in your form where your ward is, your local government, your state. And then you are at liberty to reach out to the operators of the party, the secretary of our party, as to how to be active, or what you want to be doing as an active party member, and what area you feel, because there's also a volunteerism process involved. And they'll have those conversations with you.
Okay.
Yes. And if you are not hearing from them on time, we have a presence on social media. AAC Party is also on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, and all those social media platforms to engage and interact with members. So it's a party that is very young, very vibrant. But it's not a money bag party. That's probably our only crime. And the reason we are not money bag is because we don't accept money. We can't be bought. For instance, we don't sell forms for humongous amount of money. Our membership fees are also very very little.
Very many.
Yes. So but we accept donations, but there's no money bag who can come and buy us, to do their bidding. AAC is different.
So if I join AAC party and I want to contest for a particular position, what's the process like? Do I have to be a member for a certain amount of time, or do
you're supposed to be a member for 2 years before you can run? But
you can run any
but
position.
You can get a waiver. So that's a case by case basis. If, for instance, somebody comes to us now and say, "Oh, I want to run on the platform of AAC. I just joined," and we know that you used to be in PDP, we know that you are not in AAC for our own good, we'll probably reject it. We'll ask you to meet the 2 years condition before we can. But if we understand, based on our interaction with you, that you are there for public good, we can discuss a waiver so that you can run for office, pretty easily. But it cannot be that it's the day you are running that you are joining us. or like form is closing, and somebody just told you at INEC, because INEC does that. You say this is the only position this is the only party that has opening position, and then you start calling, please, I want to buy form. We don't do that. Yeah, we don't sell form to people who are desperate for political power, because those are the kind of people that typically also destroy political parties. Because the moment they don't get what they want, then they come in and try to hijack the party. And we've been through this before. So.
Oh, wow. Interesting conversation. I mean, there's so much to talk about, right? But we have to consider time. And this is the first time you're coming to my show, so I do not want to bombard you with questions. There are so many things I would love to talk about, but maybe I just want we could have those questions answered in our next interview if you'll be available to have
no doubt. So I'll be glad to come back on your show.
Thank you so much, sir.
Whatever we can all do together. So we are in very special times, in my view, and the truth is that more than any time before in the history of this country, power is on the street. It's up to us to unite and grab it.
Yeah.
Because there's no time in the history of people being in power that I've seen a public more disenchanted than this. But you can't grab power without organizing for power. And you can't organize with people who will use you to grab power, because you are going to become their first victim. So we have to organize amongst ourselves, like-minded persons, young people, and we dare say very radical, focused young people whose goal is first and foremost liberation. Not people whose goal is to go and share whatever is left in the public coffers. So that's how we're different. As a party of integrity, and that's how our party was formed. Our party was formed by a movement known as Take It Back movement, and it's still in existence. Take It Back movement was one that organized End Bad Governance.
Oh my goodness! Take It Back movement was so big, so huge in 2019.
Yeah.
And apparently, I even made a video back then because we're all rooting for you, Mr. Sowore. We felt you were the change. We felt you were the prayers we've been asking God for. We felt that you were the Moses of our time. It was just unfortunate that, our dreams and our prayers were not.
It's not too late.
Fully answered.
It's not too late. I keep telling people, one of the things that people could get disappointed about is to expect change to be immediate without understanding that they don't happen on our own human clock. You see, all of us talk about South Africa today. Nigerians love to talk about Julius Malema. But the ANC as a political party was formed in 1918.
That was a long time.
And they didn't win power until 1994. I'm not saying we should wait for that long.
That long.
Yes. But we are lucky that a lot of things that can make us win power are working at our advantage. One of it is technology. This social media thing is powerful.
Really powerful.
And considering that the people that we are fighting against are dinosaurs, they don't even know how to use it. We can use it to our advantage and sneak up on them before they know it. They're all out of power and out of business. And then we can take our country back. That's why I take it back. Let's take it back.
Nigerians, are you guys willing and ready to take it back? Please let us know in the comment section. We'd so much love to hear from you. It's been a while. It's been a long time. And, the reason I admire Mr. Sowore is the fact that he keeps standing up for people. Even people that have absolutely nothing to give to him in return. And that's something you rarely find from somebody who is aiming for the position of the presidency. Some people have the sentiment that he should, consider the local government chairman, the local council positions, but he feels that these people are just people who struggle with inferiority complex, because his dream is to become the Nigerian president and fight for justice. He wants to bring development to Nigerians, and he wants the Nigerian youth to reclaim their dream. This is what he's been fighting for. Whenever you see a video of Mr. Sowore involving in heated arguments with Nigerian police, I'm sure you should know where that motivation is coming from. You've heard the story how he started at the age of 10, and today he's 54. Sir, happy belated birthday.
Yes,
that was last week, right?
It was yes, I was born 2 days after Valentine's Day. I wish my mother gave birth to me on Valentine's Day so I don't have to spend too much money twice in 3 days.
I also admire your sense of humor as well.
And I hope I don't get arrested after this.
No.
That's what happened to me when I went to his Bay's show.
Oh, you got arrested?
Yes, everybody that goes, don't go to his show. It's
I went there already.
Oh man,
Just
and you
days
didn't get
after,
arrested?
No, I didn't get arrested.
Speed Darlington went there, he got arrested.
Oh,
Bobrisky went there, he got arrested. I went there, I got arrested. But I think it's his Bay himself that's going to get arrested next time.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's Bay, please don't worry. You get arrested, but not now.
Not now. We'll specifically post this video and send to Isbeyu. Okay, Mr. Sowore, thank you so much for having this wonderful conversation with me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, there's so many things I wanted to talk about. Talking about the judiciary system of Nigeria. There's just so many things I wanted us to talk about. We'll save it for another, conversation.
We could have a series,
Yeah, a series.
And we're going to need a series very soon anyway.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we keep constantly talking about issues,
that
different issues for different times and different topics. And we can constantly start engaging ourselves, and this is the time for it.
It is.
Put all our differences aside, work together.
Yes,
take
we need
our
to work
country back,
together. We need to work together.
Yeah.
We need to work together. Honestly,
yes.
We need to. I feel like one of the issues affecting us, when it comes to youth coming together, is that there's not enough information being passed. For example, it is possible there are meetings that are held from time to time here in Abuja, where young people come together to discuss issues that affect them, or some of the agendas that should be chased. But unfortunately, it is only selected people who get this information. Not a lot of people have privilege to access this information, to come together to discuss this. So I really don't know. Are there organizations you are aware of that you want to talk about here that young people can show interest in?
Well, one thing I want to ask young people to do is to also shift their focus from irrelevancies. There's a lot of information out there, but if all you are interested in is who is breaking up with whom, the real information about what's going on in your country will elude you. If all you are interested in is when there will be another Big Brother Niger, and you waste your entire month or 2 months or whatever season on it, you will not. There's a lot of information out there, but the question is, are you looking for information that can liberate you, or are you living a life of superficiality? So I want to plead with young people to cut back and cut down on superficiality, so that we can start looking at things of substance.
Yeah.
That way we can connect with people who are interested in substance, and we provide the platform. And these days you don't need to go to Abuja to be part of any conference. You can join on Zoom, you can join on Teams, you can join on Facebook Live, you can join on Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
And these are done on a daily basis by our people. I frequently do Twitter Spaces. I won't say frequently, but I participate in them. I participate in Zoom meetings, I participate in webinars, trainings, and we invite people. But sometimes, like I said, you got to wonder why our people are so much interested in superficial things.
No, sometimes I feel like there's not enough information, and this is where this is where I also come in. To be honest, what we do on my platform is we raise awareness, we discuss very important
I heard
issues.
about that,
very,
and that's
very
why I came.
Okay.
I was told by. I honestly have seen some of your clips,
Yeah.
but I've not really watched any
Yeah.
of your full show. As you know, I'm barely available to even do things that are important for myself. But but I collect a lot of information. I am, I'm a sucker for information. So somebody told me about you, and I've watched some of your clearly, discussions and topics about how people can improve themselves,
Yeah.
and how they can create opportunities for
Yeah.
themselves, and but it has to be holistic. It cannot just be one ignoring the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why I said, well, I'll be glad to go on your show
Yeah.
and have a conversation about, the biggest topic, and that's leadership.
Yeah,
And
we'll be very
yeah.
interested to have this topic from
Yeah.
time to time. Do you understand? I feel like, the platform is here and more people are even creating up similar platforms, right? So at every moment that we can to share valuable information, we do not hesitate to seize the opportunity. And
I
thank
will
you so
make sure
much.
that I'm reaching out to you with
Yeah.
those kind of info. Anytime we're doing something that I feel you can help
Please,
us,
very, very
amplify,
important. Very
I'll
important.
reach out to you and please.
Yeah, we'll be more than happy
Yeah.
to
All right.
talk about it because we need to engage the youth very well.
Thank you.
Even when this issue of I want to conclude, but then something came up. We saw a video of a guy shouting justice for Niger Delta, justice for Niger Delta. We saw another clip where they say US aid they were funding the Boko Haram. These are topics that I feel that you may have something interesting to tell us about it.
Yeah.
And we'll be more than happy to have you from time to time talk about it. So I don't know, do you mind if I can reach you from time to time whenever something?
Absolutely, yeah. If there are times we just not necessarily sit down for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It could be like responding to a trending topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily trendy,
Yeah.
but trending.
Yeah, something important,
It's
to talk
important
about.
to
Yes.
So
Even the security
I'll be
issue.
glad to.
We saw a video. I downloaded it on who's with my phone. They said this guy was he's a leader. A youth leader. He was kidnapped.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw. Yeah,
Well, of course, I know the guy. We've been
Okay.
working to get him released in
Yeah.
Ondo State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
the-
there's been a lot of underground work because, kidnapping is such a lucrative business that you don't even know who is who. The people that are even planning to rescue him might be one of the kidnappers. So that's why I haven't been too open about what I'm doing for him. But we've been working to get him released, and hopefully he'll be out soon. But what is so despicable and heartbreaking is to know that he's carrying him with him bullet wounds.
Wow.
And there's bullets stuck in his buttocks, having been shot by the kidnappers.
Wow, this is really crazy. I was at the National House of Assembly. I went to interview some House of Assembly members about this issue. I also spoke to the essay to the Deputy Senate President, and about the whole security situation. But no matter how many interviews I go for, there's not just enough, sensitization or information that is created about it.
Yeah.
So, sir, it would be very good if we can have
Absolutely.
this conversation
Trust
from
me,
time to time.
like I said, I have given you a blank check.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
really appreciate Mr.
Thank you.
Sowore. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this very episode. Although it was a long one, but I promise that the next ones will not be as long as this one. Thank you so much, Mr. Sowore, for coming out, squeezing out time from your busy schedules just to honor this very invitation. God bless you so much. I sincerely appreciate. Mr. Sowore has given us a blank check that he's willing to have interview sections with us as many times as possible. Please indicate in the comment section whatever it is you are curious about and you would like to satisfy your curiosity. Indicate it in the comment section. Draw my attention to it, and we are going to pick up those comments, these questions, these topics, and hopefully we'll have another interview section with Mr. Sowore once more. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
God
for
bless
having
you
me.
so much. And guys, I want to use this information to let you know that we are now on Spotify. So the audio version of this very episode is going to be available on Spotify, the Lucky Udo Experience. We just joined, so please go there, follow us, rate our show, leave your comments and share it to your friends as well. God bless you so much. Keep supporting us so we keep our stories alive. Thank you very much. Sir, can we say bye to our viewers? Bye. Thank you so much for watching.